Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Indiana Steel franchise. So, just a heads up before this episode starts, I'm just getting over a cold, so bear with me with the voice and the potential coughing and sniffling going along with this episode. All right, so the first thing I wanted to do is look at our AHL team. We haven't really had a chance to look at them yet, so let's just go take a look at what they've been doing so far this year. So to start off, they have a record of 29, 26, and 7, which puts them 6 in the North category. It's a pretty tight category so far. So from 3rd to 7th, only 4 points separating everybody. So tight division. We'll see if the team can pull through and try to make the playoffs this year. So first things first, let's go check our stats for this team. So right now our point leader is none other than Ridley Gregg, our first line center. So I wouldn't expect anything else. So 15 goals, 33 assists, 48 points, and a +8 in 62 games. So not too bad. Our goal leader is Jacob Perreault with 22 goals so far. Ibrahimov with 18 goals. Oliver Kapanen 16, and then Ridley Gregg and Kyle Jackson rounding off with 15. Plus minus looking good. Few players in the plus. Unfortunately, we do have Kyle Jackson and Helmer Stiff with minus 20 and 24, which is not looking too good. But overall, I think the players we wanted to perform are performing with Ridley Gregg, Perreault, Harley, and Kapanen. We even have Ball here with 24 assists. So I think our young players are doing pretty good. Let's take a look at our goalies. So right now we have Spencer Knight doing the brunt of the work. 50 games played, 27 wins, 17 losses. He has a 921 save percentage with a 237 goals against average. And we have here Dustin Wolf, 16 games, not looking too good, 2 wins, 10 losses. But he does have a 916 save percentage and a 286 goals against average. So it's looking pretty good. I think he just got some bad luck in front of him. But based on some comments I've had in the past couple of videos, I think I'm going to try to get Dustin Wolf to see more time in the crease. He does have an elite medium potential, meaning he could become something very good for us. So based on those comments, I'm going to try to trade away either Spencer Knight or Logan Thompson to free up some space. So if it's Logan Thompson that we trade away, I'll move up Spencer Knight to the NHL, give Dustin Wolf the crease, and then if we have to, we'll try to trade for a backup AHL goaltender. So that's what our AHL team is looking like so far. Back to the NHL. So the trade deadline is approaching. I did a little bit of investigation before starting this episode. So some things that I want to do. So right now on our team, our number one prospect, our player of the future, is Jackson Culp. Jackson Culp has the following play style. He's a balance, cycle, balance, balance, which is the type of style that I normally go for when I build these teams. So it's balance, shoot, balance, balance, or balance, cycle, balance, balance. So right now he fits that play style perfectly well, and he has Michael Granlund on the same line that does balance, cycle, balance, balance. One thing I want to do is I want to try to find another young player that I can throw in at either at center or at right wing that could play with Culp and Granlund and help Culp grow even more because they're all going to be playing the same style and the same line, which is going to be fantastic for his development. So after doing the investigation, there's 3 teams that I wanted to look at and 4 players that I have interest in. So the first team that I want to jump into here is Carolina. So they have a player here in Jack Drury. He's only 77 overall, but he is 24. He has a top 6 low. So this one might be a little bit of a stretch, but he's not costing much. And as you can see, he has the forward line 2 fit, which is the exact same thing as Jackson Culp. So he is a potential player that we can go after. He has 1 year remaining. So someone we can re-sign if he does actually fit. And if he doesn't, we can, I don't know, we can try growing him or trade him away or just let him walk. But this is one of the options that we had. All right, the next team is the Montreal Canadiens, and they have Xavier Simoneau. He's 74 overall, 22, so he's a little bit younger and a little bit more room to grow. He is a playmaker, and he also has that forward line 2, which is the same as Jackson Culp, like I mentioned earlier. So this is another potential option. Montreal doesn't really want much for him. It's only a 2024 fifth round pick. And I forgot to mention Carolina only wanted a 2025 sixth round pick. So these two players could be potential options, and both teams aren't really asking for that much, but they do need some development. So this might be a next year thing to unite them with Jackson Culp. All right, next up we have St. Louis with Dalibor Dvorsky. So he's 73 overall, but he's 18 years old, so a lot more potential in this player. Top 6 forward, medium. And he does have the forward line too, but he also has all penalty killing lines, which would be a big add for us as well. He is on his entry level contract, so 3 years remaining at $950,000 a year. So this is probably our best option so far. And they want a 2025 second round pick. So a little bit more in terms of return for Dvorsky, but it is something we can consider. St. Louis also had another trade that they would be interested in. So for this trade, they would like to send Stenberg. So it is Otto Stenberg, 18 years old, 74 overall, top 6 forward as well. He is also a forward line 2 and all penalty killing lines. And for this one, they would like a 2024 third round pick, a 2024 fifth round pick, and also on top of that, they would like to have Tanner Jeannot. So Jeannot has 2 years left, 2.6 million a year. He's a top 9 forward, 26 years of age. So basically, this is what he's going to be. At the end of the season, he's going to turn 27. So there's not much room to grow. So he's a grinder. Balance cycle, energy block. Doesn't really fit the scheme that I'm looking for. So it would be a good player to trade away. And then it does allow us to keep our second round pick and get rid of the third and the fifth. The third, normally we could potentially find someone, but fifth round picks are really a stretch. So I think this is the trade that I'm really, really interested in doing. So with that being said, I'm going to try to offer this trade. He's a minor scoring forward, so someone who can help score goals and help Jackson Culp develop. So let's give it a go, see if they accept. All right, so the trade is accepted. The next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to find a right-handed defenseman that I can pair up with K'Andre Miller for probably a long time. So a young defenseman that has the same player preference, so balance shoot. This one might be a little bit harder to find though, because our coach has balance cycle, and balance. So there's not a specific line that I can look at to see if a player has those preferences. So I did go through and found a few options. So the first option that we have is with Columbus. And they wanted to set, well, I was interested in Jiricek. So I'm going to add Jiricek here. And what they would want in return is Quite a hefty price tag, so I'm not sure I want to do this, but I'm still going to put it up and see what happens. So they wanted a 2024 first round pick. So this one is a lottery pick because I don't think we're going to be making the playoffs this year. Next pick was a 2025 second round pick. And last and not least, they also wanted Kaliev. So Kaliev doesn't really fit what we're looking to do with this team. He has a carry, shoot, efficient, don't block. So the complete opposite of everything I'm trying to do with this team. So I wouldn't mind parting ways with him. The only thing that's a little bit hard to swallow is the first and the second. But if we look at year check here, 80 overall at 20 years old, shoots right, elite potential, a great defensive two-way defender. And like I said, the closest thing that I can find to players that might fit the K'Andre Miller scheme is defensive pairing 3. Because our coach has balance. It's very possible that they have balanced shoot, which means they could probably fit the defensive pairing 3. But it's not a guarantee. So I feel like a first, a second, and Kaliev for something that may not fit what we're looking for is a little bit risky. But we do get a stud defenseman that would really help us out with our team. So this is an option that we have on the table. So the next team and player we're looking at is Justin Barron from the Montreal Canadiens. So Justin Barron, 22 years of age, 80 overall, top 4 potential, having a great season so far with Montreal. Two-way defender as well, and again, defensive pairing 3. And what they're looking for in return is Evgeny Kuznetsov. So we could clear up his cap hit. We wouldn't need to pay him next year, which would be a great benefit to us. We can go after some free agents. All we need to do is retain $500,000 of his salary just to bring us above the salary cap floor. So this is one potential avenue for this trade. If not, they want a 2024 third round pick, which we do not have because we traded away in our Steinberg trade. So this one won't be possible. So really the only thing they're looking for is Kuznetsov, which I think makes a lot of sense for us. So they're eating up a lot of salary, but I see here at the bottom the trade value. We might be able to wiggle in a draft pick from Montreal. So I want to try a 2024 fourth round pick. So as you can see here, the trade value evens out a little bit more. They're willing to trade it away. They want Kuznetsov, so maybe this will work. So let's give this one a try. Okay, so value is too far off, so maybe they would take a fifth. They would give away a fifth or a sixth. But before I pull the trigger on this one, let's go verify the other trades that we could possibly do. And the last trade we have here is with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So this one would be for Timothy Liljegren. So he's 83 overall, 24 years old, so same age as Miller, but he is a top 4 low. So it's very possible he could regress, but he could also develop as well if he is a good pairing with Miller. So as we can see here, defensive pairing 3. And what they want in return is a 2024 6th-round pick, so this year's draft. And then they also want Pierre-Olivier Joseph. So he's 83 overall, 24. So he's the same age as Miller, but he shoots left, and he doesn't fit the preference that I'm looking for. So he's a pinch balance. I want a balanced shoot or a balanced balance. So this doesn't really work for me. But based on all the trades we've been looking at, I really think I like the Barron trade. So let's go back and try to make that trade work. So here is a trade, Justin Barron for Kuznetsov. I'm going to try to squeeze in a 2024 5th round pick from the Habs as well. So let's see if this goes through. So rejected, too far off. Let's see if maybe I can get a 6 out of them. Rejected as well. So let's see if we can just go straight up. All right, there we go. Trade accepted. So we got ourselves 2 players that will help us for the future. Cleared up cap space. And it's looking pretty good so far. So now that we've completed our trades, let's take a look at the 2 players we got. So we have Otto Stenberg. So it was a very, very close fit to what we were looking for. He's a carry cycle balance. I was looking for a balance cycle balance, but it's close enough. That's going to work. So for now, we have him in the AHL. Let's see if we can grow him a little bit and bring him up next year to play with Jackson Culp. And then also the other player that we picked up was Justin Barron. So we hit a home run with this one. Balance shoot. The exact same thing as Keandre Miller. Balance shoot, which is exactly what I wanted. So hopefully now we can find a head coach that fits the scheme we want to go for. And then these players will be able to grow for the foreseeable future. So 24 years old with Miller, 22 years old with Barron. It looks like we have a solid top 2 for this franchise moving forward. Now the next thing we want to do is clear up the crease to free up some space for Dustin Wolf. So we have Logan Thompson or Spencer Knight to trade away. I would like to keep Knight and trade away Thompson. So let's see what we can get in return. So if I do find trade, okay, there is 3 offers coming our way. We have Chicago giving us 2 second-round picks, one from themselves and the other one from Vancouver. With Johnson, he has 1 year left, $5 million cap hit, but that's okay. We have the cap space. We probably won't re-sign Johnson, and then we have 2 picks that we can do this draft. So I think this one is very promising. Next up from Chicago as well, we have Anthony Beauvillier and 2/3, one for this year, one for next year. I'm not sure I like this. I'd rather get the 2 higher picks because I don't think we're going to keep Beauvillier, and it's giving us 2 lower picks. Last up is San Jose. So they have Anthony Duclair, Barabanov, and a 3rd-round pick from Chicago. I'm not entirely sure. Both these players are over 27 years old. I don't think they fit our scheme. So I think if we're going to pull the trigger with Logan Thompson, it's going to be this trade here with 2 picks, 2 second-round picks for this year and Tyler Johnson. So now let's go take a look at what we can get for Spencer Knight. So no trades found. Let's see if we can find anything with an open block instead. So nothing. So that's good. I wanted to keep Spencer Knight, so that's great. So now if I remove Knight, go back to Thompson. Let's see if we do an open block. So open block opens up a little bit more options for us. Let's see if there's anything more interesting. So again, Chicago offers us the exact same thing they were offering earlier, and San Jose is offering the exact same thing they were offering earlier. So I think I'm going to accept this trade here. 2 second-round picks for this year. Our scouting has been phenomenal so far, and I think we have a lot of prospects in line for us to pick. So let's go ahead and accept this trade. Now that we traded away Thompson, we have Spencer Knight being called up, so Swayman and Knight at the NHL level. But now we have a problem because if you look at the AHL, we have Dustin Wolf, but our backup is an ECHL call-up that we didn't sign ourselves, so Lorenz Windholm. So let's see if we can go trade a potential upcoming UFA for a prospect goaltender that we can grow behind Dustin Wolf. After doing a little bit of research, one of the goalies I want to try out here is Dennis Hildeby from the Toronto Marlies. The reason I want to go with him over anybody else is that this game is a little bit broken in terms of gameplay, and that any goalie above 6'4" is basically phenomenal when you actually play. I don't know if it translates to simulation, but it's something that I'm willing to take a try on. So he's 22 years old, 6'6", 71 overall. He's only a potential of a backup, but that's okay. I think we have Dustin Wolf that we really want to grow, and I think this one's just more of a long shot than anything else. Um, so let's see if there's anything we can trade that they would be willing to accept. So they have nothing that they would like. So let's see if we can go find a trade. Let's add Hildeby. And then one of our UFAs. We have Niederreiter, Kessel. Let's see if they would take Kessel. So Hildeby for Kessel. Toronto would have more than 45 skaters. So we need to take something back the other way. So let's see, who's their worst potential player? So it looks like it would be Kyle Clifford. We do have Jake Muzzin here at a 46 overall. I'm not sure why he's that low. Let's see if this would go through. So Kessel and for Hildeby and Muzzin, I don't think that's going to go through, but let's try anyways. Okay, so this trade did go through, so we got ourselves Hildeby, and we'll be able to run that experiment with them and seeing if taller goalies actually do make a difference during simulation. Just before jumping into the trade deadline, I just wanted to show you who our UFAs are currently. So we do have Teddy Bluger, Johnson, Roslovich, Gagne, and Barry. I did want to trade away some UFAs, but I think we're going to run into a problem here. We are very, very, very thin when it comes to NHL forwards. So I don't think I can move away from Bluger, Johnson, Roslovich, and Gagne right now. That would mean we need to call up AHL players that are in their low 70s, which I don't think makes a lot of sense for their growth. So I'm going to keep these 4 forwards, keep the roster kind of NHL competitive, but I will try to move Barry because we do have a surplus of defensemen. Barry's getting up there in age at 32, and it's not someone I'm looking to hold on to. So when we do jump into the trade deadline, I'm going to see what comes our way. But before the end of it, I'm going to try to move on from Barry for either NHL forwards or some prospects or some picks. If we do get a NHL caliber forward in return, I might look at moving Bluger, Johnson, Roslovich, or Gagne. Most likely Gagne out of those 4. But we'll see how it shakes out. But the number one priority is Barry and keeping our NHL forward core to make sure that we can actually suit up enough forwards at the NHL level. Okay, so now that we know what our plan is going into the deadline, let's sim forward to that day, which is February 29th. Update trade status. Hey, it's your pro scout. Before we head into the trade deadline, I want to see if you require an update to your trade block. So we could pick seller, conservative buyer, or buyer. But I went ahead and made our own trade block, so I'm just going to say keep current trade block. And then here we go. Let's jump into the trade deadline. All right, so here's the trade deadline. So here are the big top 10 names that are available right now. So there's Bobrovsky from the Panthers, Couturier, Hart, Talbot, Danault, Moore, Varlamov, Kuznetsov, McDonough, and then Barry for us. So I went through the playoff teams that are currently in the running. And then, so we have Boston, Florida, Toronto, Detroit, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Islanders, Carolina, Dallas, Colorado, Minnesota, Seattle, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Arizona. So I think some of those teams would probably be a better fit for Barry as a rental. And as you can see right now, New Jersey and Arizona are 2 teams interested in Barry. So let's see if we can probably swing a trade with one of those 2 teams. Find trade. So there's Florida here offering a second round pick next year in Vilmanis. New Jersey offering a second. New York offering a second. The Jets are offering a second for this year. They're also offering McGroarty and Zilkin. And then we have Barlow and Zilkin and Lucius. So let's take a look at the Devils. So the Devils is next year's pick. Florida is also next year. So let's look at Lucius, see if he fits anything that we're looking for. So he doesn't fit, but he is a young player that we can grow that might be able to play second or third line depending on what coach we get. So this is a very good deal for us. So, all right, so I'll exit trading. So as the trade deadline progresses, some of our offers are going to be different. So it's possible that I can find a trade again and get different offers. So let's just wait a little bit longer. So we have, it's at the trade deadline, it's 7:23 a.m. We have until noon to do trades. So let's just see how everything unfolds, and we might have better offers towards the end. And as you can see here, Drew Doughty is now the #1 trade bait on the board, passing Bobrovsky from the start. So the Kings probably did a trade, and he's now expendable. And let's take a look at the draft board. So we already have 3 second-round picks in the upcoming draft. So it might be wise to trade for a player instead of another second when it comes to Barrie. Let's take another look, see if anything changed. So still the same 7 offers, and I think I'm going to go with this Lucius one. I don't think we're going to get much better, and I don't think I want to keep collecting second-round picks. All right, here we go. Accept trade. So I'll let this go. If anything interesting pops up, I'll let you guys know. And if not, we'll just finish off this trade deadline and move on. The trade deadline passed. There was nothing really of note to signify. So now we're into the waiver period based off all the trades. So Ottawa is placing Mark Kastelik on waivers. Let's go take a quick look before we say anything. So 77 overall, bottom 6 forward. Doesn't really have a fit anywhere, but to be honest, I would like to have an extra forward on the team. So I will claim Kastelik. All right, so that was the only waiver. The trade deadline is behind us. So what I'll do now is I'll reshuffle the lines, realign everything, make sure everything is good to go. I'll make sure all our scouts are reassigned, and then we'll be back for the next episode, and we're going to finish off the inaugural season of the Indiana Steel.